Hi everyone, this is Brian Hayes, and welcome to an introduction to the electric clarinet. Amplifying the clarinet, other than by using a conventional microphone, has its origin back in 1968, when the Thomas Organ Company of the USA released what they then called their Ampliphonic range of electronic devices. I have here the King Vox Octavoice 1 unit, which was manufactured specifically to amplify the clarinet. It was sold coupled with this unique pickup device, and if you can see here that the pickup has a volume control knob on it, and the other side just has a hole drilled into it. And this pickup device is clipped onto the tuning barrel of the clarinet. The tuning barrel itself has an attachment device drilled into it, and then the pickup snaps into that connector device. The Octavoice 1 clarinet unit came with 4 on-off switches. Those switches, as you can see there, were instrument, oboe, bass and contrabass clarinet. The output from the pickup device that was attached to the tuning barrel of the clarinet went on this side into that connector, and over here this was the output of the Octavoice 1 unit, which went into a guitar amplifier, or the equivalent of today's PA system. The King Ampliphonic range of electronic devices were used by some of the world's most famous musicians. Here in Australia, the great Don Burrows toured the country throughout the 1970s in duo partnership with the fantastic jazz guitarist George Gola. Don would often use this King Vox device when George was playing single note jazz guitar solos. Don would switch the device to bass clarinet or contrabass clarinet, or a combination of those two, and simulate walking jazz bass lines on the B-flat clarinet. And it was an amazing result. There's an album called Duo available by Don Burrows and George Gola, only in vinyl, but if you search hard you might be able to find a copy of that album, just simply called Duo, Burrows and Gola. It's probably the best example of fantastic clarinet and jazz guitar playing that I've ever heard, so I strongly recommend you try and find a copy of that album. Unfortunately, the electronics in my King Octavoice 1 unit passed away about 10 years ago, and it's no longer operational. So for today's demonstration, I'm going to use a current day version of that device, and I've got here just a standard octave pedal that is used commonly with the 6-string electric guitars. This particular unit is the BOSS Octaver OC-2 model. This pedal was made in Japan, but there are current versions similar to this readily available from music stores all around the world. You'll notice it has 3 knobs, an octave 1 knob, an octave 2 knob, and a smaller knob in the middle, which is a balance between the input of the original instrument, so in this case the clarinet, and the mix between the tone being produced either 1 or 2 octaves below. And the pedal gives the ability, unlike the original King Vox device that was either bass clarinet or contrabass clarinet or both, the use of this sort of pedal lets you mix the balance between those 2 octaves. So in clarinet speak, octave 1 on that pedal is the equivalent of the bass clarinet, and octave 2 is the equivalent of the contrabass clarinet. But by adjusting the amount of both of those different octaves, you can get a mix between original clarinet, bass clarinet and contrabass clarinet. Now for this demonstration I am going to use my original King Vox pickup, or clarinet bug as they might have called it at the time, attached to the tuning barrel of my B-flat Selmer 10S clarinet, and we'll have a listen first of all to what the Selmer clarinet sounds like just on its own with no electronic device. Then we'll add in the Octave Pedal, and you'll get to hear the power of the electric clarinet when added to effects units. Now you'll notice I don't have any pickup attached to my tuning barrel. The attachment connector is there, that's permanently there. There's a hole drilled into my tuning barrel, and this sort of plastic cap just shuts off the air hole so I can play the clarinet as normal, but I haven't got any pickup attached. I'm going to play just a little bit of the famous jazz classic Sweet Georgia Brown to use as the demonstration track. This tune's probably better known as the theme song for the Harlem Globetrotters, the famous USA basketball team. This tune here. Now, if I unclip the pin from the microphone adapter on my tuning barrel, you'll notice that the pin itself is literally a pin, just a plastic pin that inserts into a hole that's drilled into the tuning barrel of the clarinet. And if I grab the pickup, so this is the 1968 King Vox clarinet pickup, the original pickup design, which was basically the same as a dynamic microphone. It has a hole drilled into it, and in much the same way that our human ear detects sound, that pickup will just pick up the vibrations coming out of the hole out of the tuning barrel. So I've connected the microphone now to the tuning barrel. It has a lead coming out of the microphone. If I grab the other end of that lead and put that into the input jack of the BOSS Octaver Octave Pedal, so that's the clarinet pickup coming into the octave pedal. Over here the pink lead is going, in my case, into my mixing desk, into my recording software, but if you were playing live that would be going into a guitar amp or a PA system. If I then engage the pedal, and you can see the red lights now come on, so the octave pedal is active, I've got this setting with a lot of octave 1, so a lot of bass clarinet, not much of octave 2, so a little bit of contrabass clarinet just to fatten up the real low end. And I've got the balance knob in the middle more or less set pretty even, so I'm expecting to hear the original B-flat clarinet, a strong amount of bass clarinet, and a little bit of contrabass clarinet. Let's have a listen to what the electric clarinet sounds like plugged through the BOSS Octaver Octave Pedal. It's important to remember as a clarinet player that when you plug into effect pedals that are designed primarily with the electric guitar in mind, the sound that you will achieve will often be more like a guitar result than a clarinet result. In the example of Sweet Georgia Brown, those low-voiced instruments sound more like a bass guitar than a bass clarinet and a contrabass clarinet, unlike the original King Vox Octavoice unit, which was designed specifically with the clarinet register in mind. I hope you've enjoyed that brief introduction to the electric clarinet. I'll do some more tutorials on different options available to you once you have a decent pickup system installed onto your clarinet. As always, keep in touch via my website, that's www.brianhayes.biz. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so you're kept up to date with all of the new videos that I'll be uploading on the many instruments that I play and teach. And drop me an email if you have any fundamental questions about the electric clarinet. Bye for now.